Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching in from, tuning in from. My name is Abingdon, and if you've just come to the channel for the first time, checking out some of our watch videos, then you're with me live, and we are going to go over some dive watches today. So I am not with my coffee this morning yet, so it is like I'm gonna trip over. I just want you to know that for the next probably 30 seconds to 2 minutes while I still get my bearings. But if you've never come to this channel before, what we do is we go over watches, our crew members who are our customers. We call all of our customers crew members, so you're a member of the crew if you wear an Abingdon watch. My name is Abingdon, and this is the channel for the watch company. So we've been making watches now for well over a decade, and it's primarily watches for the adventure industry. So we're doing pilots watches, dive watches, watches for the automotive industry, watches for the military. The thing is that we are marketing primarily towards women. So that's kind of the big difference. Even though many of our styles definitely are unisex, we found that, at least I found when I was looking for a watch back when I was learning how to fly in 2006, that there are just not a lot of options available to women. So as a as a watch lover myself, I want to get more women into this amazing industry and have them become collectors of watches as well, because I love watches, and I think it's a really fun hobby. So if you are just checking us out for the first time, feel free, drop some comments, questions, anything that you'd like to in the comments below. This is a live video, and we will be answering them throughout the episode, and also I'll answer them later on if I don't get to it within today. So about today. So we just finished with the big dive show that we were a part of, and we just released this new watch called the Nadia. It's a dive watch. It's our second official dive watch, and I'll kind of go over what it means to have a dive watch and to be, it's about the water resistance, it's about the movement. There's a couple things in talking to divers that are super important when it comes to watches. So I'm gonna go over a couple of those things. But this is our second dive watch. It's called Nadia, and it's just amazing because it's our smallest dive watch, 35 millimeters. That's the thing that's been taking everybody by storm, is that they have never seen a watch that has 20 ATM be so small. And I'll kind of get into the ATM and the pressure differences and all that kind of stuff in a minute. And so yeah, let's jump, right? Let's get into it. So I am wearing two watches. So Marina was our very first dive watch that came out several years ago, and this is a 40 millimeter watch. If you were a part of our Kickstarter, if you have been following the company for a while, it was our first step away from aviation watches. And the Marina has been a staple in the Abingdon collection. It's been one of our best watches. Orange is my favorite color, so I like it in the yellow snapper. And so that's why I'm wearing this one, but I'm gonna show you next to the Nadia. It is so much bigger than the Nadia, right? So this 35 millimeters, this 40 millimeters. So you can see just right there that at 5 millimeters makes one heck of a difference. It comes with a silicone and a titanium strap, and with the Nadia, it comes with a silicone strap, but all of our straps are completely interchangeable. And since this is live, I just completely forgot. MK, can you grab a steel band? Yeah, you're gonna probably see her walk into frame, but can you grab a 16 millimeter steel band? And I'm gonna show you off of an Elise, which is one of our other 16 millimeter band watches, that you can completely change out on this steel case, and it's totally easy to do. You don't need any tools. So Nadia comes in two colors, and I am wearing whitewater. So here's how this all came about. I was at an event where I met up with the Women Divers Hall of Fame. If you're not familiar with WIDOF and the Women Divers Hall of Fame, it's a group, I want to say there are maybe less than 400, I believe, inductees into this Hall of Fame, and they're women that are revolutionizing the dive industry. So I asked them, I said, ladies, I'd really like to make a dive watch, and I'd love for you guys to have a say in what this should be. You guys are experts in your field. What can I do to make a better dive watch? Because we already have the Marina, it's been going gangbusters, it's awesome, but I want to come out with a second watch that doesn't have, that has different features than what the Marina has. So the Women Divers Hall of Fame agreed to help me test this watch, and I have one of the test models here that I'm going to show you what they did. Basically, within the women that are still actively diving, thank you, Beth. Within the women that are still actively diving, I shipped it to them for them to take on one of their dive trips. Once they were done with that, then what they did is they shipped it off to another inductee and they dove with it. So it kind of bounced around the world, you know, like the that book, the Traveling Sisters, the Pants, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. This was the traveling watch, and it went around to all these different inductees, and they went and they dove with it. They tested it out, they wore it to dinners, they wore it on different adventures that they were going on. They made it their daily watch for about 2 weeks, and then they passed it on to somebody else. So the feedback that they gave me was phenomenal. And what I'm going to show you is one of those original prototypes and what some of the feedback was. Now, this right here is an original prototype. We only have it for demonstration purposes. But one of the things that you can see is that the hour hand and the minute hand in the actual watch is both blue. But in this prototype, one is white and one is blue. And we did that as kind of a design feature, but it made it really hard to read. So we changed both to blue. So that was a super easy fix. One thing that you also probably notice is the band length. So I'm trying to hold it like buckle to buckle, and you'll see that this one, the actual, is considerably longer, and it has a blunt end right here as opposed to a tapered end. And we did that so that they could wear it over dry suits as well. So you have a longer silicone strap. Now, bands, and I get a lot of people are like, don't say that, don't encourage people, but bands, I believe, especially if it's a silicone, just cut it to length. If you're gonna use it over a dry suit, over a wetsuit, over anything, then fine, keep it long. But if you're just gonna wear it around your wrist and you're always a warm water diver, or you just like the look of a silicone strap, then you are more than happy to cut it to whatever length you want. Keep in mind, bands are wear and tear items. These will wear out eventually, so they are intended to be replaced. I've never been one, and I sometimes get a lot of flack for this in the watch industry. I've never been one to like always keep a watch super pristine. I use and abuse my watches. So, and most of our crew members do the same. So if you want a replacement strap, I mean, even if you wanted to keep the original, think about what silicone and rubber are. They're going to get hard over the years. It's going to eventually be unwearable. So like I said, wear and tear items. If you want to cut it, by all means, that's totally fine. And what we did on the back is put markings on it so that you can do that. In fact, we put an entire ruler on the back of the watch. If you can see that, it might not be so easy to see on the white. Let me show you both with the black. But there is a 2-scale ruler with standard and metric down the back side of the watch, and the case back. It continues down the case back. So let me show you kind of both, and we'll see if we can actually kind of, is that, sorry, Paul, I am trying to go as close up as possible. But hopefully you can kind of check it out. You know what? There's really, really clear photographs on the website, so just go there. But yeah, that ruler down the side, if you are fishing or if you just need a ruler, then you can use that on the back of your watch. Just take it off and it's a straight edge, perfectly easy. So, but then you can also use them to be guides for if you needed to cut the band. No problem there too. Now, the Nadia and Whitewater. Let me go back to this proto watch. So one of the funniest things that I heard about this, and I kind of teased it in the intro or in the description down below, is that this watch is Koala-Tested and Approved. So what ended up happening is one of the women, you can see that crown right there, how it's all chewed off. So one of the women was wearing the watch, and I think was at like a preserve or something, preservation in Australia, and she was holding a koala, and she was paying attention to the people that she was with, not necessarily the koala, and the koala started chewing on the watch, like straight up chomping on the watch. That is how this watch got so destroyed. There's some really, really good markings on it, but they also chewed on the crystal. And if you can see, there's not a mark on the crystal. Why? I only use sapphire crystals. Sapphire crystals are standard for every Abingdon watch. It's because in case you ever come in contact with a koala, then you know your watch will not crack. Just kidding. But I thought that was super funny. So we do say that these are Koala-Tested and Approved. So fast back to what the Women Divers Hall of Fame inductees did. They took it around, and several of them tested it in the waters, fresh water, salt water, different depths. Now, the depth on this watch, and this is one of the reasons why everybody has been so surprised. 660 feet, which is 20 ATM or 200 meters. Now I'm going to kind of show this to you a little bit more close, if you can kind of see that. So 660 feet, how do you get that in the size of a 35 millimeter case? There's a lot of engineering that had to go on behind this watch, inside this case. For one, the steel is considerably thicker. So when you have water resistance, you're talking about the pressure of the air inside the watch with combined with the pressure of the water that is outside the watch, or whatever the pressure is. If it's air pressure, water pressure, it doesn't matter. When we test water resistance, I'm going to do an entire live video on water resistance, because I have a real issue when salespeople or companies, watch companies, try to say, oh, this watch is rated to 165 feet, you can take it down that low, or you can take it down 660 feet, you can take it that far, and you really can't, because most watch companies are going to test their watches in either a water chamber or an air chamber, where they turn up the pressure until that crystal pops off. And that is how you do it. But here's the thing, if you think about that, the water or the air that's in this chamber, which is typically sometimes around this large, they'll take the band off, right? And what they'll do is they'll put the case into the chamber, and then they'll lock it, and then they'll crank it closed, and they'll start turning up the pressure. And until that crystal pops, or until they reach a certain threshold, that is going to be how they determine what the water testing is. And then they'll go back to the drawing board, change out some things and stuff like that, and then try and get it to the water resistance that they want. Well, I learned very quickly on the water resistance for the marina when we did this on the Kickstarter, because there were people that were commenting on the Kickstarter that we originally had this at 330 feet, at 10 ATM, not 20 ATM. And people were saying, that's not a real dive watch. And I'm thinking 330 feet, that's way deeper than I'll ever go. How is that not a dive watch? Well, that's when I learned about what they do to test the pressure differences with watches. But when you're in that chamber, it's a safe area, it's constant, it's no motion of your wrist when you're diving, there's no temperature fluctuations if you're in hot water to cold water, you don't have debris in a chamber like you do in the ocean, there's things flying around, floating around, fishes will come into contact, animal life will come into contact potentially with you. If you're a good diver, it won't. But you might even tap on it or touch it or bang it against your tank. Different things happen when you're underwater. It's a constant change of pressure. So even though your watch might be rated to 5 ATM, 10 ATM, what I try to tell people, and I'm very, very vocal, and I'm like super adamant about this, that if you have water resistance on a watch, because of the type of testing that they do at the manufacturing, you really want to just multiply it by 3. I'm sorry, take that back. Divide it by 3. So all of our watches are a minimum 5 ATM, which is 165 feet. You divide that by 3, you get roughly 50. So 50 feet is where you can take our travel watches, our aviation watches, anything, shallow dives, no problem. This watch though, 660 feet, 20 ATM, that means divide by 3, what are you looking at? About 200 feet, right? 210 feet, give or take. So that is a dive watch. If you don't have a dive watch that is 20 ATM or more, then you just don't have a dive watch. End of story. That's my take. Fight me if you want, but that is the deal. So thank you, Cool TV. I am doing great. It's good to see you. Yeah, so the end of my podium, but I really don't want you to take your watch into the water and expect it to hold a certain water resistance when it's not. So that's kind of where I'm coming at from there. So how did we do that in a 35mm case? Well, there's a couple things that we did. One is the entire case is thicker. So we had to increase the walls on the inside to be thicker so that it could hold that pressure. Also, that crystal is also thicker, so that can also withstand a lot of the pressure depths. Then one of the things that we did, which I didn't do it on the Marina, which a lot of people are like, why didn't you do that on the Marina, is the Marina doesn't have screw out crowns. So if you need to change your time, you can just pop that crown out just like any other watch and change your time. But because we have such a small case size, this one is a screw out crown. So we did have to screw the crown out, it pops out, and then you can change your time. And then the last thing that we did is on the crowns, both of them, and inside, we double gasketed. So there's 2 gaskets around everything to help with that water pressure. So that's what we did for the Nadia to get it down to 20 ATM, but still be in a tiny 35mm case size. So hopefully that, I don't know, kind of impresses you. It impressed me. It took a long time to do it. So cool. So now that I have the crown out, I want to show you one of my favorite features, and this is so cool that the Women Divers Hall of Fame helped test, is there is a fully working compass inside this watch. Now, if the crown is out, it will rotate. What that means is do not pop it out when you're diving because you just broke your water seal. So this is when you're above ground, but if you've seen that crazy movie where those divers pop up after their dive and the boat's gone and everything, and you need to find north or wherever the island is or wherever the boat is, then I don't know, that gave me nightmares when I saw that movie. It was a while ago, but you can use this as a full-on compass. There's videos all over the internet. We're gonna make another video about how to do this, how to use the hands, the sun, and then having a compass on the watch. That's inside, and every Abingdon watch has something on the internal bezel, so that's what this one has, and it's the first time we've ever put a compass on a watch. I do not believe in having needle compasses on watches because there's too much metal around a watch, and so it's just going to tamper with the magnetization. So what we did is we just put it on an inside bezel, and then we're going to show you in a later video how to use it with the hands on the sun. So that's pretty cool. The other thing is the movement. So I'm going to just kind of pop this back in, and then the bottom crown is going to change your hours, dates, all that kind of stuff. It's all the watch functions. So what movement do we have in here? This is an automatic watch, no batteries. And that is one of the most important things that divers appreciate, is that they do not have to change the battery on their watch, because you have to water seal it every single time you open that up to change a battery. Most watch batteries and most watches, quartz watches, they last 2 to 3 years, but with an automatic, you only need to get it serviced every like 6 years, give or take, to just get everything cleaned out, especially if you're putting this in chlorine, if you're putting it in salt water, even fresh water, it doesn't matter. You do kind of want to have it serviced if you are using this at depth. Probably about every 5 years, I would say. If you're just wearing it and you're keeping it kind of safe and everything, then about every 7 to 8 years is when you want to service the movement. And all that means is it comes in-house. We do a thorough cleaning of it. You know, we get out all those lovely dead skin cells and dirt and grime and everything else that just happens to kind of creep its way in over the years. And then we just make sure everything is clean, working on time, and then we get it back to you, and we'll water seal it. So the movement in here is a Seiko TMI NH06. It's a Japanese automatic movement. It's one of my favorite movements because you not only have hour, minute, and second, but you also have day and date. So you've got a day of the week and the date, and that's a bit unique. So you're not going to find a lot of movements that have that. There is a 40-hour power reserve on this watch, and all that means, if you're not familiar with automatic watches, is if you set it down, like you take it off your wrist, you set it down on your nightstand, or you put it away to wear another watch, it will still run consistently for 40 hours. It'll start to slow down probably around 35 hours, and that is what that's all about. Once you pick it up, reset the time, then it's gonna work as long as you wear it. And so what I'll do is I'll take my watch, if I don't sleep with my watch on, I'll put it down, and by the next morning when I wake up, hopefully I've gotten 8 hours of sleep, then what I can do is I can just put it back on and it works fine. Yes, so 3-hand, hour, minute, second, day and date. I'm trying to think, I don't think. All right, see you, Paul. It was nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you everybody for tuning in, because I love talking about this stuff. And I know I'm talking super fast, but I do kind of want to get through. There's a few more things on this watch that I definitely want to let you guys know about, because this is a brand new watch. It hasn't even been out a month yet, and it's just really exciting. So 35 millimeter. Now the case thickness is 14 millimeter. That did need to happen for that water resistance. I couldn't really go much smaller than that. But it doesn't sit very heavy. I'm going to put the black one on so you can see. Abyss is this black and pink, and this one is just, I really like this watch. We don't do a lot of pink in here. Not to say that we don't like pink, just there's a lot of other colors in the spectrum. So this is our only orange watch. So we should probably come out with another orange watch. I'm looking at MK like, make a mental note. So yeah, it doesn't sit super high. It sits very comfortably on the wrist. You can see that I do have, there's no cut on the silicone, but it does, if I'm just wearing it like a normal watch, it will stick out a bit. So if this were just a daily, I would cut that silicone strap out. I mean, like I said, fight me if you want, but I'm all about that. So you've got steel case, steel crowns, gasketed, anti-reflective sapphire crystal, 660 feet water resistance. Oh, hello. You also have a diver's bezel on the outside. So I'm gonna have to put, you know what? I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna put the metal band on here. If you're not familiar with our brand, what we've done is we made all the bands completely interchangeable. So it's a bit hard to see, but at this end it says 6, and on the other end it says 12, so you know what side of the watch to put it on. But all the bands are 100%, you can swap them out. It doesn't matter, we only offer 2 sizes. One of them is the 20 millimeter strap size, the other one is the 16 millimeter strap size. So across the 70 plus watches that we have, you can, we're only gonna have those 2 sizes of straps. So this is what the watch looks like with a metal strap, which is pretty sexy if you ask me. What you can do is you have the unidirectional diver's bezel. If you're not familiar with how to use a diver's bezel, there's a billion videos on the internet about that. We also have it in our manuals, which are video manuals, and we'll probably do a YouTube live on just all diver's features of dive watches, so that if you are a diver, you know how to use your watch. And yes, I do believe, because I do this when I dive, I wear a computer and I wear a dive watch. I wear both because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So I like it for just the compass. I like it for the fact that it is an automatic. I like it for the fact that after my dive, I don't have to go, take my dive computer off and just be like naked on my wrists. I like to still have something on my wrists. So anyway, That's just a personal preference. But if you like to wear just one, then you know what? You do you, boo. I ain't mad. So, so there you go. So that is the Nadia, also Superluminova on the index and the hands. Now we did, and you might see this. I'm gonna put these two next to each other again. We never did a video about this. We did film it, but I didn't show it. Tritium. So these two, if you look at the prototype, one has tritium on it and the other one does not. We went with Superluminova. So tritium, the reason why we didn't do tritium on this watch is after, I think it was around 15 years, we compared it to, we found a watch that had tritium from 15 plus years ago. And actually it wasn't even 15 because our watch was 15, the other watch was only about 10 years. And it didn't glow. Now I understand the chemical makeup of tritium and everything, it will fade over time. It does need to be redialed or the tubes need to be replaced, all that kind of thing. I just really don't want to mess with that. I don't want crew members to have to deal with that issue in the future. So Superluminova works, it works great, and that's why we stuck with it. But what that means is I have two watches that are absolutely perfect prototypes that we don't sell that have tritium on them. So there are two of these, the black and green. It's a Nadia prototype, which we are selling. If you want a black and green with tritium, with everything else that I mentioned, 660 feet, then definitely reach out, put a comment below, I'll send you some information on it. And once these two are gone, they're completely gone. So there's only ever gonna be two made of these, and that's that. Speaking of manufacturing changes, I also wanna share with you that we have these organizer bags. And if you are a traveler and you like to travel, I've done a video on that. I will link that below as well. What I do is I normally put all my straps here, so metals, silicones, leathers, and then my watch case will go here. Well, we had a bunch, our printer kind of went a little funky the other day. So we have a whole bunch of these that got misprinted, and anything through the end of the year until these run out, we're just going to include them. So if you do place an order for this watch or any watch and you add our travel watch strap organizer bag, it's free. So just something, it's gonna be misprinted. So the bag works perfectly fine. It just has a weird misprint on it. So hopefully, you know, you don't mind a bad printing, but there's no reason to have it go to waste, right? So I think I've covered pretty much everything on this Nadia. If you guys do have any other further questions, definitely throw it in the comments below. It's our brand new dive watch. I am super, super excited about this watch. I can't wait to continue diving with it. I've only done a couple dives in Lake Mead here in Las Vegas, which is super cold, but it's been performing absolutely brilliantly. I can't wait to take it to the Caribbean, take it to the Red Sea, take it all around with me. Because I really, really want to check out the compass feature more. I love the fact that it has a day and date, and then just the fact that it's an automatic, it can go so deep. I don't have to worry about it when I have it in the water. I think that's probably the best part. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do like this channel, go ahead, click the subscribe button. We go on adventures with women in non-traditional industries. We feature a lot of our crew members doing badass things, and we talk a lot about watches. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video.